Hey guys, this is Elena. And lately it feels like life is standing still. Every day looks the same. You wake up, you scroll on your phone for a few hours, you go to work. Maybe if you're really feeling over the top, you throw a workout in. You go to bed and you repeat. You're not unhappy, but you're not really living either. And I know that feeling very, very well. For months, honestly, even years, I've felt stagnant. Like I was watching my life happen from the sidelines. It looks successful on paper, but I feel completely disconnected on the inside. And today I want to share my experience, not as a professional, because I'm definitely not a professional here, but more so as someone who's been there. I want to talk about where I was in the past and what I've done to become more aware to help me where I am now, and things to look out for and what I've learned along the way. And I really want to talk about when I was younger and why I'm even making this video to begin with. I've talked to a lot of my friends and family, and I just hear very similar things happening. I don't know if it's just the phase in life with most people or it's the time of the year. I have no idea, but I've been hearing the same things, and I relate to all of those things. But I want to start by first talking about when it all started. Since I was little, I was always this outgoing, curious, and a little all over the place type of girl. I loved learning new things, meeting different people, and adapting to different environments. I was the most curious person ever, as a lot of kids are. But I noticed there was always this pattern. I'd get really into something. I'd get decent at it and then stop. When that happened, it was more times than not because someone would be better than me at whatever activity or hobby I was doing or I'd participate in, or when I'd hit a challenge, when I would start it and get really good at it. And instead of pushing through, I'd pivot. And I thought it was because I wasn't passionate enough. Maybe it's the ADD in me, because I am a little all over the place. But really, I just didn't know how to sit with struggle long enough to find depth. Fast forward, I'm 28 years old. I'm working a pretty good job with great friends, a beautiful apartment, great support group with my family, overall a healthy routine. And still, every morning, I'd wake up feeling gray, unmotivated, unfulfilled. Like I checked all the boxes, but somehow missed the point. And everyone around me, whenever I would communicate this to them, they'd always be like, "You have it so good, Elena. You make great money. You work remote." And I'd nod, I'd smile. I'd just keep telling myself, yeah, I guess, this is just what adult life is, right? But deep down, I knew I was living a version of life that wasn't mine. And it caused me to eventually hit a wall where feeling fine, it just wasn't enough anymore. I couldn't ignore how disingenuous I felt to myself. the job, the friendships, even small daily habits, none of it felt like me. That's when I grabbed my journal, I grabbed my whiteboard, I wrote down everything that truly made me happy. And there it was traveling, creativity, nature, connection, things I'd lost touch with. I reached out to literally every single person I knew. I was at just a breaking point. I thought, what is just like an easy way out of my routine just to get a reset? So I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna try to book a trip, a big trip. And I just kept hearing pushback like I always do. No, I'm sorry, I am too busy at work. I can't take time off. This time of the year is not gonna work. Let's push it out another year. Nothing was really lining up, to be honest with you. And when I was almost at the point of giving up again, like I always do, I had one of my friends tell me they're going on a group trip to Istanbul, Turkey. And it was a pretty wild experience because I posted on my story about me kind of just booking more local trips and things like that. And my one friend reached out to me and be like, I am quitting my job for a year. I'm starting this travel experience company. I'd love for you to join. And all of the stars aligned, it felt like in that moment. It was just, sometimes signs aren't so obvious, but if that wasn't the biggest sign, I don't know what was. So without overthinking, I just booked it and I just said, F it, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to Istanbul. I have no idea, I did no research. I don't know who I'm going with. I only know this one person that I met a couple times. Whatever, YOLO. But that trip changed me. I went overseas by myself, not knowing what to expect, and met people who were all going through something very similar. We talked about purpose, fulfillment, and the weird in-between stages of life. And maybe I'll talk about that in another video because it was so profound, that trip. I will never forget that trip. But I came home feeling alive for the first time in a very long time. And I'm trying not to get choked up, but it wasn't just about the travel. It was about, oh my God, it was about remembering how big and beautiful life can be when you're present, when you're truly, truly present in every aspect of your life. And after that trip, I started digging into why I had been feeling so stuck for so long. And I realized many different things. And it's not so complicated. You put a lot of pressure on yourself when you're going through something like this. The unknown felt scarier than the pain I already knew. Staying stuck felt safe. And I think a lot of people can relate to that because we fear change. And when we fear change, we also can fear failure as well. So we stay in the comfort of what we know and the baggage that we've carried throughout our life without making that significant change to see the light and that life does get better when you really challenge yourself and push yourself. I realized burnout. I wasn't lazy. I was a hard worker. I was just exhausted. My mind needed to rest and not be more engulfed in productivity. With the lack of clarity, I realized you can't move forward if you don't know where you're headed, right? But clarity doesn't come from where you're thinking. It comes from what you're actually doing with your life. And I would make these comparisons with other people, and it looked so out of reach for myself, even though I knew I was fully capable of doing it. I would see people living their lives in a way that I related to them so much more, but I was just living through a phone screen. I would scroll through highlight reels, and it made me feel like I was so behind in life. But everyone has their own seasons, and when you have a phase in your life or a period of time that you're going through where there's not a lot of noise, you are experiencing a lot of time to yourself, and instead of looking at that and viewing it as I am so behind in comparison to other people, you need to view it as in, this is a resting period for your soul, for your mind, for your body, for everything that makes you who you are. And it is a reset to get you to the next phase in your life, to grow that much more and to expand on yourself and to hopefully learn yourself that much more. Because every phase in your life is temporary, even though it seems so long. There's also life cycles. Sometimes being still, it's not failure. It's just your body asking you to pause before the next chapter in your life. And that's exactly what I was going through. And it doesn't need to just be for a day or two, a week, a month. It can last a few years. And I had a lot of changes happen that weren't the greatest the last few years, but we're all human and we all go through periods of time that are more challenging than others. And how I'm moving forward is getting unstuck isn't about fixing yourself. It's about creating gentle movement, those small shifts that open space for life to flow again. You change your inputs, whether that's new places, new people, new conversations. Even just rearranging your room can spark that change. When you notice, when you push yourself to move towards something, one of your goals, or something that you've really desired for a long time. In my case was traveling and meeting new people and just immersing myself in culture and different customs. And I realized being with such a special group of people, I was with about 10 people, I was only having deep and meaningful conversations. And I would always put pressure on myself because I would get exhausted talking to many people, like meeting new friends. It was very easy for me to meet people, but to have a depthful friendship or relationship, I always was aware when I wasn't super deep with certain friends, but in that trip and coming out of it, I realized, wow, some people are not adding any value to my life and aren't allowing me to grow or are not showing up for me in ways where I need them. And it doesn't mean to cut them off, but it means that you need to value your time that much more. So you need to start small. So I had to stop trying to change my life and just focus on one tiny action each day, whether that is being really intentional about the questions that I'm asking, or about waking up, tapping into your faith, whatever that may be, meditating, working out, going on a walk, reading a book, journalizing, whatever you can think of. Therapy, honestly. But understand how you can reconnect, I like to say, with your inner child. And I'm not saying that in some spiritual hippie sense, but ask yourself, what made you happy before the world told you who to be? What made you happy when you were younger? Because that's what you naturally gravitated towards, when you had nothing holding you back. I mean, of course, your parents, because they're probably trying to chase after you when you want to go down the slide in a swing set and you want to leave or whatever. But what brought you joy that you haven't seen since you were very young? Allow that stillness. Not every season is for growth, like I was mentioning. Some are for rest, and you need to listen to that. Talk it out. The moment I started being honest with my friends, everything shifted. Everything. I told them in a deep, meaningful way, whether it was more spiritual than they would like to hear or not. I was always fearful talking to them in such a way because it didn't align to their views. It didn't sound like them. It didn't allow me to, be included with them, because that's what, everyone is. You just want to relate to people. And I felt like it didn't always relate. But when the moment I started talking authentically to myself, to other people, it didn't matter who I was talking to or what I was talking about. It could have been the craziest stuff ever. I could have been talking about, Buddha or something. I wasn't. But the point of the matter is they saw how authentic I was speaking to them, and they resonated with it. And honestly, it was healing certain wounds in them as well. The second they started to see that I was embracing myself in the most genuine way that I could. It was a huge turning point for me. So if you're feeling stuck right now, please know it doesn't mean you failed. It just means something inside you right now is craving that change. You're not broken. You're just in between these chapters. And sometimes that in between is where you'll find who you really are. And if this resonated with you, comment or share your own experiences below, because I would love to embrace these sort of conversations, normalize them as much as we can, and remind each other that we're not alone in this. I'm still going through this period of stagnation, but I am in the next stepping stone in my life, and I have reflected a lot in just a few short months. And I want to document and update you all if it's gonna help at least one person. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see what the future holds. But I'm really excited about it. Be excited about the uncertainty.